Hello ladies, gentlemen, and deceased. My name is Emily Sophia and I am going to be breaking down for you, the lovely viewer, the latest and greatest of The Walking Dead. So, we are going to get ourselves waist deep, if not neck deep, in dead weight. So spoiler alert, if you are not yet caught up on the 7th episode of Season 4, this, my lovely people, means that we are on the cusp of a delightful mid-season finale, which that didn't exactly precisely occur to me until today. So I entered into this episode readily in a state of emotional and mental compromise. So yeah, let's dive into these shenanigans. I will be bearing all, so, you know, spoilery things abound here. So if you're not caught up, then come back around and I'd love to chat with you digitally. So anyways, let's dive into this madness. Okay, so I must say that it's a lot more difficult to have it's become a lot harder to have a soul hard-on for the governor when it does not come to exclusively defending, you know, his surrogate family, when it comes to defending his sort of new daughter, and all of these factors, all the things that suddenly made him so beautiful and fluffy and even beardly in the past episode. Well, that's all kind of turned a new leaf, and there is a fearsome new plant that is taking the place of the former peace tree of the governor from last episode. But I love this development in the story. I mean, as much as I hate to see this old side of the governor resurface, I mean, who are we to think that it wasn't going to? I mean, obviously, he was going to find his merry way back to, you know, the outskirts of the prison at some point, and he probably wasn't there, you know, to participate in Spaghetti Tuesday, you know, and it probably was not a Wednesday. So, I mean, we all knew that the governor rearing his seedy, monstrous head again certainly had monstrous connotations, but it was very easy in the last episode to think that that was not going to be the case. You know, we were kind of lulled into this false sense of security and kind of shocked and disgusted with ourselves for being like, oh, will this guy please marry me? I mean, considering the copious amount of people that he has gunned down, I mean, there's this sort of crazy dichotomy that's going on, and this episode puts us to the ultimate test because, you know, when it comes to the changed governor, it's not the fact that he's not willing to kill anymore, it's kind of why, on what basis, what's he all about. And in some sense, you know, you could argue that he never really has changed, but I think it's really interesting to see how he progressed in this episode. You know, first he and his new family coming into contact with Martinez and all his old men. Martinez chooses, you know, to go take the upper road and, well, let bygones be bygones until he can see what the governor's true flavor is at this point in time. So, you know, he's sticking with the whole Brian charade. He's kind of letting it play out. You know, the guys are slinging beers and, you know, talking personal histories, which the governor is a little bit hesitant to participate in. But, you know, so there's this sort of relationship that's being established, and Martinez is kind of acknowledging that the governor has changed and everything, you know, is kind of fresh and new, and they're sort of starting back at ground zero, you know, and everybody's kind of having this sort of weird nostalgia about Woodbury, and the governor's sort of got this like, you know, it's just everyone is pushing the button. And, you know, I just kind of see, like, you know, there's the governor, and then there's this invisible suit that is, it's like strapped onto him, it's latched into his flesh, and there's all these buttons on it, and people are just like, hey, remember Woodbury? Remember how fun that was and just great and dandy, and let's try that again, you know? Which is basically, you know, Martinez kind of makes the blunder of suggesting that all can begin anew. As soon as he says, you know, over their little match of golf that they could split the throne or split the crown or whatever it was he said exactly, I just kind of, my hearing just sort of like, because I could just feel the sanity level of the governor just derping just insanely. I knew that something was gonna break down. And then of course, you know, a little ball game between bros turns ever so slightly lethal, and you know, as he's pushing Martinez into the death pit, he's like, I don't want it, I don't want it. And so there's this side of us that is, you know, disgusted anew, and everybody who was like pretty much derobing themselves to be, you know, seduced by the governor from his, you know, his presence in the last episode is all of a sudden covering up and jumping out of the bed. I mean, I must say, like, the governor has this charm factor. A lot of people were really charmed, but then, you know, we see his past returning, but what's fascinating about it is the way that he's so resistant to this power. He's so resistant to having anything to do with leading anybody, and he's just kind of trying to keep in the shadows of this, you know, this new community of which he and his family are now a part. But at the same time, you know, he's head of his household, and his number one goal is to keep that on, you know, locked down. This is his sacred place. That is his only, you know, that's his jurisdiction. Everything else is off. And so we see this side of him that is resisting becoming who he once was. But at the same time, it shows that who he once was continues to be prevalent, and the forces that drove him when he was in Woodbury are ever so slightly coming back to life. You know, it's a little bit of a zombie apocalypse metaphor there for you. But yeah, I mean, just the tensions in this episode were fascinating, especially, you know, after the incident with Martinez, and then he and the other two guys are going out on the raid, and we see Good Guy Pete, or I think that was his name. Yeah, Good Guy Pete, you know, they spy out a pre-existing group, and they're like, hey, we could, you know, little snatcheroo in the corner, peace out and go, you know, but he's trying so hard to take the upper road. And in that, the governor sees an immense danger and sees that side of himself that was, you know, given over to craziness when he was in charge at Woodbury. And he also sees this guy trying so hard to get the governor's advice and just trying to get it like, to eke it out, but he is just so adamantly resistant to that. And so instead of taking off with his family, you know, and they kind of get stuck in the midnight rush hour of the zombie sludge, you know, they take it back around, and he decides to take out Good Guy Pete and go with the other guy whose name I cannot recall. He is Hat Guy to me right now because I can't remember. I apologize. But yeah, so it's like he recruits this guy based on, you know, the sort of moral ambiguity factor that this guy displayed when he, you know, he killed the old guy who was like waking up, and they weren't sure if he was dead per se, but he wasn't gonna take the chance. He was the guy who suggested that they made the raid, and the governor's kind of playing along with that. I mean, it kind of reminded me in a sense of the governor's confrontation with Rick last season, you know, where he's sort of playing his little game, you know, he's got his feathers puffed out, like he's coming back onto his throne, whether he likes it or not. But again, you know, he's sort of deifying, he's putting on a pedestal the moral ambiguity needed to survive, and he keeps stressing that throughout the episode. It's about surviving, it's about acting, it is about doing something. It's not the right thing, it's not the wrong thing, it's the ever so sinister middle ground. I mean, you know, he's kind of preaching anarchy here, but it's really fascinating because now he's coming back into a position of authority again. Except this time he's surrounding himself with the kind of people, you know, the people who motivate him, which is his family, and then the type of people who will run things with him in such a way as to support his central goal, what he wants. You know, it's this sort of Darwinistic survival game. So, and that's where everything becomes very, you know, there's a lot of conflict in my heart about how I feel about all of this and how much I'm still into the governor. I mean, I think he's a fascinating character. I don't exactly think he's fascinating when he's pointing a gun at my freaking Lady Michonne. That's at the point where I'm not so much fascinated with you as I want to throw you to the lion's den. You know, I'm not in the mood for that kind of behavior, sir, okay? Let's work out a way for you to get a roof on your head that does not involve blowing the roof off my Lady Michonne, off my man Herschel, off nobody, okay? And you know, it's like just as I'm coming to the point, there's a like, I think it was like about 15 minutes left in the episode, and I was just thinking to myself, I really miss the prison group. Like, I miss the main characters, you know? It's been fascinating and cool to see the journey of the governor and how he's coming back into this group and how everything's becoming all crazy again and the evilness lurking within is finding ways to manifest itself. But yeah, and so of course it's just as my heart is like, oh, I miss, you know, everybody back at home, you know, and then there's the governor traipsing through the forest with his little gun and going off to get what's his, you know. And I'll tell you guys that I'm only just starting the 3rd chapter of the Walking Dead comics. I have the first compendium collection and I'm trying really hard to get caught up because I want to read the full comics. I actually asked for the 2nd compendium collection, or I don't even know if there is one, but I asked for the other ones that come after the first compendium collection so that I can just have that on the ready too, because come winter break, I'm gonna be marathoning the crap out of that, okay? But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see like how much the current story in the show, is it converging with the books at all? I mean, you guys can tell me that, like, I'm not concerned about spoilers in that respect, just, I am genuinely curious, so, as things are starting to change significantly, so, I am just, and I will say that at the end of the episode, I was screaming my lungs out as, you know, the little girl, like, she's running around, like, playing the game of tag and stuff, and then she, you know, she flips back the sheet and, oh, hey there, you know, you're not a part of the game, but as of right now, he's decided he is. That whole zombie chasing, the whole under the car thing, I had Sophia flashbacks and my heart was just like, it was throwing a hissy fit. I was not happy. I was shrieking and like my family had to come and check on me / make fun of me for being so invested, but I was really upset and I felt that by screaming I could not only prevent the death of a small innocent fictional child, but also the imminent potential death of Michonne at the governor's gunpoint. But of course we know that, you know, the writers aren't going to do that. They will have some kind of confrontation though. So, other points in this episode, I mean, I'm really freaked out. I mean, if you're into the show and you're not freaked out right now, I mean, tell me what pills you're taking, because my stress level is above and beyond me. I am just like in this tank of stress, and I have pretty much no way out until we see what happens next week, and then it'll just be a few months more of stress. So that's great. Or weeks, months, something. I don't know. Time is lost on me. I am in my own little universe right now. But yeah, so it was a really interesting episode, very, very much filled with tension. And I just love the way that the writers are approaching this, and just, you know, for instance, like when we see the governor waking up and, you know, he says that he had a bad dream after the whole incident with Martinez, you know, and for a split second I almost thought, like, was that seriously a dream? Because you know, the writers, the showrunners haven't played with that element, you know, the dream element very much, aside from kind of like Rick's visions and his whole, you know, delightful time in Wonderland last season, and just, you know, kind of these little pieces. But I genuinely thought for a second, like, okay, was that really a dream? And they just totally, you know, pulled the rug out from under it. But it actually did happen. So I mean, you know, just kind of the way that they're structuring the narrative of this this episode, the past couple episodes, I mean, just this season has been truly dandy. I mean, in the best and worst of ways. But, and I love the way that they started the episode as well, with the chess game between the governor and his little girl. And, you know, sort of talking about the whole, like, you gotta make a move someday, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and just all the foreshadowing. And, of course, you know, when Martinez and the Gov are golfing on the roof, and Martinez is like, you know, you don't get to come back from the things you've done, which was the same thing that Clara said in the first episode of the season, and it is just something that keeps coming back. And it's wigging me the crap out because, you know, like, the governor says that he's changed, and, you know, he has kind of a new lease on life, but at the same time, it's sort of moving him in the same direction that he was going in when he was the leader of Woodbury. You know, except, and again, it's sort of like, I don't know, I want to read The Rise of the Governor as well, Robert Kirkman's original novels, about the backstory of the governor, because I'm just curious to just see how all these pieces of his life play together, because it's been such a fractured narrative, you know. And I was also wondering to myself, towards the beginning of the episode, when they went on that raid up in the cabin and things like that, and how the governor was, like, kind of trying to push off the guy's questions about what happened with the dude who originally owned the cabin. And I was wondering to myself if he was connected to that at all. I just, like, I sort of suspect that the governor is, like, connected to anything that is not okay at this point. I mean, like, and when he and his group came up to the friggin', like, zombie mess, you know, it kind of, it made me think of all the people that from Woodbury, who he'd killed at the end of last season as well. And I mean, I think that he might have realized that too. And I mean, if so, what role did that play in, you know, the decision that he went on to make and everything? So yeah, the governor is a fantastic character in that he's very volatile, but at the same time, we know exactly what he wants, you know? And I'm just really nervous to see how everything is going to come to blows the next episode, because, you know, they say in the preview that some will fall, and I'm like, but you can't do that because, like, the last time I got to see everybody was when everyone was, like, dying, and I just want to hang out with my friends. I don't know. My eye, like, has literally been tearing up all day for no reason, so I don't know what's going on with my life anymore, but yeah, so, you know, my heart rate is going to be careening through the stratosphere for the next few days, and, you know, we'll see if I can come out on the other side, bring myself down enough to chill. I have started watching Doctor Who, so maybe that's what I'll go do after this review. But yeah, so share with me any and all of your thoughts about this episode, you know, some of the newer characters in the mix. I mean, it's hard to really go making these in-depth analyses now that we know that we're on the brink of yet another war, and this is going to be, oh, I am so perplexed. I hate this. Why do I watch the most stressful shows in the world? Yeah, but I'm curious to see, you know, your guys' thoughts on the governor and where the season could potentially go, especially if, and I don't know this from my current perspective, but if it is that the show and the books are kind of aligning right now, based on that, can you make any predictions about where we're going to be headed in the future? I mean, I'm a little perturbed, and I just need to talk to people about this because I don't know. Oh, Governor, I can't deal with you. I can't deal with you and your governatorness. It's not okay. It's really not. I'm upset. It's like, if you guys could just remain mutually exclusive from one another, that would be dandy, you know, because I like seeing what's going on with you. You know, you are in a sketchy place morally, but it makes for a truly compelling character. I mean, we got to sympathize with him, but now we have to kind of, like, we have to pick sides again, you know. it's no more of this, you know, little vacation in hell that we've had, and you know, we have to take off the rose-colored glasses and come to face reality, or should I say our rose-colored eye patches, okay? So thank you guys so incredibly much for watching this review. You are my bread and butter with a little dash of cinnamon to boot. So you guys take care. And I will keep in touch. Get a hold of me on my Facebook and Twitter pages primarily, as well as Tumblr, because those are the main outlets that I'm communicating through right now. So you guys take care, and I'll be back before you know it.